In the 1980s, the world of video games changed forever. In the beginning of space shooters like Space Invaders and Asteroids, one yellow circle with a big appetite captured the hearts of millions. This is the story of Pac-Man. Game development for Pac-Man began in early 1979, led by designer Toru Iwatani and a 9-man team at Namco. At the time, most video games were focused on themes like war or sports, which primarily appealed to men. Iwatani aimed to create a game that would attract a broader audience, including women. The iconic design of Pac-Man was inspired by a pizza with a missing slice. However, Iwatani later explained that the character was also influenced by the Japanese character for mouth, kuchi, which he rounded out to create the final shape. The game's characters were intentionally made cute and colorful to draw in younger players and give the game a more universal appeal. In Japan, the game was named Pac-Man, and in the North American release it was changed to Pac-Man in the fear of vandalism of using the word Pac-Man. Midway, a subsidiary of Bally, was instrumental in importing Pac-Man to North America. Pac-Man arcades ran on Namco's custom hardware, powered by an 8-bit Zilog Z80 CPU. Its simple but effective graphics featured a brightly colored maze, 4 ghosts with distinct personalities, and a fluid animation. Each ghost, Blinky, Pinky, Inky, and Clyde, was programmed with unique AI behavior, adding a strategic layer to the gameplay. With a single joystick for movement and no additional buttons, Pac-Man's controls were easy for anyone to pick up, making it an instant hit. And in the 1980s, it became a cultural icon, revered worldwide by video gamers, putting it up there with the likes of Donkey Kong, Space Invaders, just to name a few. Coming off of Pac-Man's extraordinary success, another character was about to join him on the world stage. Actually, it's his family getting bigger. This would be the creation of Miss Pac-Man, which Namco had nothing to do with. In the late 1970s, a group of MIT students founded General Computer Corporation, short form GCC, a company focused on creating enhancement kits for arcades. These kits modified existing games to make them more challenging, add more features, and boost profitability for arcade operators. One of GCC's most notable creations was Crazy Otto, a 1981 enhancement kit designed for Pac-Man, with identical gameplay with a few twists. For example, there's legs on the characters. Otto has legs and looks more like a humanoid creature compared to Pac-Man. It also has new maze designs and slightly different ghost behaviors. Blue monsters with antennas instead of original Pac-Man ghosts. This time around, GCC approached Midway about using this concept after the legal battle they had with Atari over games like Missile Command. Midway was really impressed with this port and purchased the rights to it immediately. The game was never officially released as Crazy Otto. Instead, Midway turned it into the game we know today as Miss Pac-Man, becoming one of the most successful arcade games of all time. Now, the original ROM for Crazy Otto is not out in the wild, and this is because Midway bought the game immediately, so if you do see any games of Crazy Otto out there, they're more likely Miss Pac-Man hacks or sprite modifications. Hey everyone, I just want to take a quick moment to say thank you. Thank you for watching and supporting my channel. I absolutely love making content for you, and your support means the world to me. I'm always happy to hear from you, so feel free to leave a comment below. I love to know what you think, and if you haven't already, please like and subscribe and stay updated on all my latest videos. Now let's get back to it, shall we? Another family member joined the Pac-Man family, and it was 9 months after the release of Miss Pac-Man during the height of Pac-Man's popularity. In 1982, Bally Midway, without the assistance of Namco of course, created Baby Pac-Man, a hybrid between pinball and video game. It was part of Midway's attempt to innovate the Pac-Man franchise by adding pinball elements. Namco did not authorize Baby Pac-Man, and the relationship between Midway and Namco became strained as a result. The game featured Baby Pac-Man, a new character portrayed as a child of Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man. Baby Pac-Man begins with the traditional Pac-Man maze, but unlike previous Pac-Man games, no power pellets are available at the start. Players must enter a pinball selection by moving Baby Pac-Man to the bottom of the maze to activate power pellets and boost gameplay features like faster movement to extra lives. Pinball gameplay is similar to mini pinball machines, but bumpers drop targets and spinners. GCC would stick around for quite a while, becoming a big part of video game history. They later did work with Atari, making games for the 7800 like Food Fight and Pole Position 2. They also created Quantum, an innovative arcade game that used vector graphics. Not only that, they did also design the chipset for the Atari 7800 console. In 1983, Bally Midway would have GCC make one more addition to Pac-Man's family. Considered an unofficial sequel to Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man, this would be Junior Pac-Man. It contained larger scrolling mazes. Unlike the static mazes in earlier games, Junior Pac-Man's maze scrolls horizontally, making it much larger. It has tougher gameplay. The game is more challenging due to the expanded maze and faster go speeds. Now, there's no official Namco involvement with Junior Pac-Man since it was developed by GCC for Midway, just like Miss Pac-Man, without Namco's authorization. It was not part of the official Pac-Man series. Namco later distanced itself from Junior Pac-Man due to licensing issues. The famous 256 glitch. I'll be honest with you, I haven't had the honor of even reaching close to that. The Pac-Man 256 glitch, also known as the split screen or the kill screen glitch, was discovered by players in the early 1980s. The glitch occurs when the player reaches level 256 in the original Pac-Man arcade game. At that point, the right half of the screen becomes a jumbled mess of symbols and numbers, making the level unplayable. While it's unclear who exactly discovered it first, arcade players and high-score chasers at the time, like Billy Mitchell and Chris Ira, are among the first documented to have reached this glitch. The glitch is caused by an integer overflow in the game's level counter. Namco programmers hadn't anticipated anyone reaching that high, so it results in corrupted memory being displayed on the screen. The glitch later inspired the game Pac-Man 256 by Bandai Namco. In the 1980s, Pac-Man competitions were a significant part of the arcade gaming scene. With Walter Day, founder of Twin Galaxies, he helped establish official Pac-Man records and competitions. Also in 1982, Twin Galaxies started tracking high scores, leading to informal contests among top arcade players. One well-known was Billy Mitchell, who achieved the first officially recognized perfect Pac-Man game in 1999, but the competitive drive started in the 80s.
Power clock, you guys are finished! Drop Atari Pac-Man into your Atari video computer system and you're playing the hottest games.
Coming off the success Pac-Man had in the early 1980s, it wouldn't be long before home console ports would hit the store shelves. One notable one would be the first one for the Atari 2600 in 1982. The port was developed by Todd Frye, an Atari programmer, under a strict deadline. And with only 6 weeks to complete this game, based on Atari's 2600 limited hardware, Frye had to make significant compromises. The game used a flickering effect to simulate multiple ghosts as the 2600 can only display one moving object per scan line, and the iconic power pellets became rectangular wafers due to memory constraints. The Pac-Man cartridge for the Atari 2600 was only 4 kilobytes of ROM. This was a little bit before the technique of bank switching was introduced to run larger games. Later Atari 2600 games, including homebrew versions of Pac-Man, utilized 8 kilobytes or more, allowing for better graphics and gameplay improvements. Upon the release in March of 1982, Pac-Man sold over 7 million copies, making it the best-selling game on the 2600. However, critical and player reactions were overwhelmingly negative, primarily due to poor graphics. The maze design was simplified and blocky, using dashed lines instead of solid walls, flickering ghosts. Due to hardware limitations like we mentioned earlier, only one ghost could be displayed at a time, making them flash rapidly. Inaccurate colors, the bright neon colors of the arcade were replaced with dull orange and blue hues. Different sound effects. Instead of the classic Waka Waka sound, Atari 2600 Pac-Man had a repetitive Pong-like noise. There were a lot of gameplay differences as well, and that was the enemy AI was much simpler, making it less challenging. Regardless, Atari's reputation suffered due to the poor quality of Pac-Man. In 1982, Todd Frye also programmed the port of Pac-Man for the Atari 400, 800 computers, and the 5200 console. This version of Pac-Man was considered a much better port than the infamous Atari 2600 version. It featured more accurate graphics, sounds, and gameplay closer to the original arcade. The reason for this is Todd had a lot more time to work on this port, and he was working with more advanced hardware at the time. For example, better graphics. The Atari 400, 800, and 5200 had more advanced hardware than the 2600, allowing for higher resolution and more colors. The maze design was closely resembling the arcade, and with proper pellet and power pellet displays. It also included better sound effects. Honorable mention. Back in the early 1980s, there was a way to bring your favorite arcade home with you. Games consisting of Frogger, Galaxian, Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, and Donkey Kong, just to name a few. These tabletop arcades would be released by none other than the company Coleco. Coleco was a well-known toy company that manufactured a lot of famous toys. To name a few, the first one would be the Cabbage Patch Kids, and then, of course, the very popular ColecoVision video game system. The Pac-Man Coleco Tabletop was part of the Coleco Tabletop series. It used VFD technology, which stands for Vacuum Fluorescent Display, which were commonly used in VCRs, CD players, and other stereo components. The Pac-Man Tabletop version provided the closest experience to the arcade. It had a distinct feel compared to the console games that were released soon after. These tabletop arcades are highly sought after and can be quite expensive. If you would like to relive the nostalgia of games like Pac-Man and other Coleco tabletop classics, you can emulate them using the popular MAME emulator. Unfortunately, I have one that is currently non-functional due to battery corrosion, but I plan to restore this little gem in an upcoming video. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a moment of the restoration. Now we take a look at the Nintendo Family Computer, aka the Famicom. Pac-Man was released for it in 1984. The Famicom's version of Pac-Man was programmed by Namco, with Toru Iwatani, the original creator of Pac-Man, overseeing the project. Key differences from the arcade version to the Famicom version is slightly different graphics. Due to the Famicom's hardware, the visuals are slightly simplified compared to the arcade. The colors are a bit different, but the maze design remains identical. The second is no intermissions. The arcade version featured short cutscenes between levels. These were removed in the Famicom port. The other is sound limitations. The sound effects and music are close to the arcade, but the Famicom version have a slightly different tone due to the Famicom's audio clip. In Japan, Namco was able to work directly with Nintendo to release any titles. This included Pac-Man without any red tape. The next step for the family computer would be distribution to the rest of the world. For this, it would undergo a massive physical change. In 1985, Nintendo released the Nintendo Entertainment System, as we know it today, the NES, in North America and Europe. Its design resembled a VCR, featuring a front-loading cartridge slot, which helped make the system feel more familiar and modern. This approach aimed to rebuild consumer confidence following the video game crash in North America and revive interest in video games. To avoid the same issues Atari had during the video game crash between 1983 and 1984, Nintendo established strict licensing agreements for any company wanting to publish Famicom games outside of Japan. These agreements required developers to purchase their PCB and cartridge shells directly from Nintendo, and also limit the number of titles they could release. To avoid signing any of these agreements, Namco decided to partner with Atari Games. Atari Games was still under the ownership of Warner Communications and partially Namco at the time, because in July 1984, Atari Inc. was sold to Jack Tramiel, founder of Commodore, and since Atari Games was created from the arcade division of Atari Inc. and retained the rights to use the Atari name for arcade titles, but unfortunately, they no longer had the right to use it for Atari or computer games. So, to release console games without using the Atari name, the company created a new label called Tengen. The name Tengen comes from the board game Go, referring to the central point on the board. Fittingly, the word Atari also originates from the same game. Two of the most popular titles, of course, we're going to talk about here for the NES was Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man. Now, this brings us back to the licensing rules Nintendo implemented for the NES in 1985. These rules were strict, often forcing game publishers to find creative workarounds. On the other hand, Tengen faced a different issue. While they initially licensed and released the first version of Pac-Man legally, they later accused Nintendo of unfair business practices. In response, Tengen copied the patent of Nintendo's lockout chip, developing their own version to bypass the NES security system. They also created their own cartridge molds, allowing them to avoid purchasing Nintendo's proprietary cartridge shells. In the end, Tengen, which is known as the Atari Gaming Corporation, would lose this back-and-forth battle in court with Nintendo, citing copyright infringement. Near the end of the Nintendo Entertainment System's life cycle in 1993, when the world was introduced to Kirby, Nintendo re-released Namco's Pac-Man and released Namco's version of Miss Pac-Man. Now, there are two different versions of Miss Pac-Man. The one from Tengen released a lot earlier, and Namco's version for Nintendo in 1993. Namco's version, as you see here, has a simpler visual, slightly lower details, and a different color palette. Tengen's version has more arcade-accurate graphics, a more detailed title screen, and slightly different colors. "2025, 45 years of Pac-Man. Can you believe it? For 45 years, Pac-Man has been inspiring gamers of all ages. He is still very relevant today and still has a lot more to offer. Let's have a look at the games he has released that we haven't covered yet. Pac-Man has had a massive cultural impact since its release in 1980, influencing gaming, pop culture, and even society in general. Here are some key ways it has shaped culture. First of all, its merchandising explosion. The game led to a massive wave of merchandise, including lunchboxes, t-shirts, board games, and even a breakfast cereal.
Slide with a marshmallow you'll find inside.
There goes a Pac-Pac, and Inky too.
He's marshmallow. You can chop him too.
Pac-Man has also maintained its dominance in retro gaming through products like plug-and-play devices and the arcade one-up cabinets, including handheld consoles. These keep the game accessible and relevant for both nostalgic fans and new players. Pac-Man has long been a presence in media, making an impact in movies as early as Tron in 1982. Here are some clips of shows and films where Pac-Man has made an appearance.
Whoa! No!
Yeah, but he's not a student. He's an over...
Get them. Send out every game tank in the grid. Get them!
Party without me. Pac-Man? They invented Pac-Man? That cherry-chasing dot muncher isn't even part of this game! The bad guy anymore.
We get it, but we can't change who we are. And the sooner you accept that, the better off your game and your life will be.
One movie that stands out above the rest would be the movie Pixels from 2015 by Columbia Pictures. The movie starred Adam Sandler and Kevin James as the lead characters. The movie is about video game characters attacking planet Earth, being used by aliens. This includes Donkey Kong, Q-Bird, but of course, our main character who takes the poster on this would be Pac-Man himself. Pac-Man was also well known for being involved with other video game franchises, for example, titles by Nintendo, and of course, other franchises within Bandai Namco. Here's a few clips that had Pac-Man starring within the game. Pac-Man remains a standout not just in the world of video games, but as a true cultural icon. Now, 45 years since the debut, the 50th anniversary is just around the corner, and its impact continues to grow. Modern gaming owes a great deal to Pac-Man and its creator, Toru Iwatani, for shaping the industry into what it is today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Oh, and for the record, the only thing harmed in the making of this video was the pizza. I was hungry. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back real soon.